We all know Haymitch Abernathy, the mentor, the victor, the drunk. But what if the story we think we know is just the beginning? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the brutal, untold story of his Hunger Games and the unimaginable price he paid for becoming a legend. So let's start not with a hero, but with pure, unadulterated terror. This is the 50th Hunger Games, and it wasn't just any games. It was a quarter quell, one of those special anniversary events the Capitol cooked up for maximum cruelty. And that quote from the District 12 escort, yeah, they weren't even trying to hide it. That's the mood right from the get-go. But let's rewind a bit. Just hours before all that chaos, on the morning of his 16th birthday, Haymitch Abernathy isn't a tribute. He isn't a legend. He's just a boy from the seam, probably trying to get a few extra minutes of sleep. Now, he was already pretty cynical for a 16-year-old. He had to be. He was working this illegal job as a bootlegger's mule, just to support his mom and his brother. You could say rebellion was already in his blood. His whole family had what the Capitol called the scent of sedition. But really, the center of his entire world, that was his girlfriend, Lenora Dove. And the one bright spot in this whole grim birthday situation, it comes from Lenore. She gives him this custom-made flint striker. It's beautiful, but it's also practical. It's a symbol of their connection. And they have no idea, but it's about to become his key to survival. Okay, so this wasn't your run-of-the-mill reaping. Remember, it's a quarter quell, and the Capitol's special role this time was just unbelievably cruel. They wanted double the tributes. So not 2, but 4 kids from every single district. 48 kids thrown into the arena. Just think about that. And of course, for the poor, the odds are always, always worse. That's where the tesserae system comes in, right? Forcing families to trade their kids' safety for a little bit of grain and oil. And for Haymitch, it meant his name was already in that reaping bowl 20 times. Now you add in the fact that they're drawing double the names, his odds were basically non-existent. So the reaping starts. They call the names: Luella, Maisley, Wyatt, Woodbine. And Haymitch's name isn't called. It's a miracle. For just one single, beautiful second, you can imagine him and Lenora thinking they've actually escaped. But this is Panem. Relief never, ever lasts. And then all hell breaks loose. A tribute, Woodbine Chance, makes a desperate run for it, and the peacekeepers just shoot him down. The whole square descends into panic. And who's watching all this unfold? A young producer, a guy named Plutarch Heavensby. And he isn't seeing a tragedy, no. He's seeing an opportunity for some really good television. And this is the moment, the one that changes absolutely everything. A peacekeeper gets in Lenora's face, threatens her, and Haymitch just reacts. He doesn't think, he just steps in to protect her. It's just one tiny act of defiance, but that's all it takes. The escort points right at him. He's the replacement. Just like that, his fate is sealed. All because he tried to protect the person he loved. So he is whisked away on that train to the Capitol. And now we have our 4 tributes from District 12, the poorest district in all of Panem. And it's on this train ride that we start to see who they really are when the pressure is on. First up, you've got Haymitch, our cynical rebel from the seam. And then there's Maisley Donner. She's from town, a wealthy merchant's daughter. I mean, they couldn't be more different on the surface, but it doesn't take long for them to find they've got this shared spark of defiance. And to round out this grim little group, we have Wyatt Callow, a guy who sees everything, even life and death, as just a bet to be calculated. And then there's Luella McCoy. She's just 13, and her innocence is just heartbreaking. It makes her the most vulnerable person in the entire games. You know, what's interesting is that the first real spark of rebellion on that train, it doesn't actually come from Haymitch. It comes from Maisley, the rich girl from town. She's the one who stands up first, absolutely shaming a Capitol attendant for treating little Luella like some kind of animal instead of a person. And that spirit of defiance, it ties right back to this really important lesson Haymitch learned from his late father. It was this kind of secret philosophy, and it's going to end up defining his entire strategy in the arena. Yeah, his dad called it painting a poster. And the idea, it's simple, but it's so powerful. It's this: You have to refuse to be just another pawn in the Capital 6 show. Don't let them use your blood, your pain, for their propaganda posters. You have to find a way, any way at all, to show them you are a person, not just a piece in their game. So Haymitch gets his chance to paint a poster at the opening ceremonies. There's this horrible chariot crash, and poor Luella is killed. Haymitch looks up at the balcony and he sees President Snow just watching, totally unmoved. So what does Haymitch do? He starts to applaud, but he aims it right at Snow. It's silent, it's shocking, and it's an accusation that no one in that crowd will ever forget. And that one act, that one moment of pure defiance, it does something nobody could have predicted. It's like a jolt of electricity runs through the other tributes. It plants this tiny seed of rebellion in a place where before only fear could grow. And get this, for the first time, like ever in the history of the games, the so-called long shot districts, the ones that usually get wiped out in the first few days, they decide to fight back. They're inspired by Haymitch and they form this massive, completely unheard of alliance of 8 districts. They even give themselves a name, the Newcomers, and they are ready to completely upend the game and go head-to-head with the powerful career pack. Once he's in the arena, Haymitch is just a force of nature. He survives poison, these horrific mutts, tribute attacks, all through sheer cleverness. And he's using that flint striker from Lenora the whole time to stay alive. But it's the final showdown that's just mind-blowing. He's facing the last career tribute, and he does the unthinkable. He uses the arena's own force field as a weapon, making her final attack rebound right back at her. He doesn't just win the game, he breaks it. But there's no celebration. When President Snow himself comes to place the victor's crown on his head, his words, they're not congratulations, not at all. They're a threat, and they're delivered with this absolutely chilling smile. And the true price of his rebellion? It's absolute devastation. Haymitch gets back to District 12, but there's no hero's welcome. There's just silence. Ash. President Snow made an example of him. He punished Haymitch's defiance by having his mother, his brother, and Lenore, all of them, murdered. And that's it. That's how the defiant boy we just met is completely shattered. In his place, the drunken, haunted, broken mentor's born. The same man that Katniss Everdeen is going to meet 24 years down the line. His incredible victory gets twisted into this dark cautionary tale. But the memory of his rebellion? It's still there. A secret spark buried under decades and decades of grief. So his entire life is now defined by this one single tragedy, and it really breaks down into 3 distinct phases. First, you have Haymitch the rebel, the boy who dared to fight back. Then, Haymitch the victor, the one who won a game that was designed to be unwinnable. And finally, Haymitch the mentor, forced to send more children to their deaths year after year, forever haunted by what his survival cost him. Which leaves us with this one final, really haunting question. How does a boy who so brilliantly broke all the rules become the man who has to enforce them for a generation? How does the rebel who defied the entire system become part of that very system, sending new kids into the arena year after year? And that question, well, that's the bridge that connects Haymitch's past to the entire future of Panem.